What's good, and welcome into Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Jake Garcia alongside my partner Cuyler Meade. We have a rundown jam-packed with Sun Devil sporting news, so loaded that the CSL production committee bickered for over an hour over which sport would lead.
It was very intense. Things were said, and somebody owes me an apology.
We have hockey, we have basketball, soccer on deck for you guys, and I even think Jason Chesler is making a serious case to lead with tweets after strong performance after strong performance. But let's not overthink things. There's a Sun Devil football team coming off arguably its biggest non-conference win in school history, a 55-31 drubbing of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The team is now catapulted up to number 6 in the college football rankings and is poised for a trip to the college football playoff if it can win out. And because of this, football leads. But still, those who demean the importance of this game will point to the fact that ASU's most current task is a matchup against an Oregon State team that has lost 4 in a row. Even bleaker news for the Beavers, they're just 4-12 in the month of November over the past 4 seasons, and in the 11 seasons under Coach Mike Riley, a measly 2-11 against ranked opponents in November. Nevertheless, don't think for a second that Coach Graham would look past this 4-5 team.
The toughness that they play with. I mean, year in and year out, they're going to play hard, especially up front on both sides of football.
To Graham, the stats mean little, and it's clear he views Oregon State and Mike Riley in the same fashion as he views Notre Dame and Brian Kelly.
He understands spacings, understands blocking surfaces, and he's got a lot of experience and just very, very sound in what they do schematically and fundamentally one of the best teams you see fundamentally at every position. That's why I have so much respect for him.
As Graham echoes, there's a reason they play the game. The stats can certainly be manipulated in other ways to tell a different story, namely ASU's inability to perform in colder weather. Since 2010, the Sun Devils are 24-7 in games above 70 degrees, and in games below 70, they drop to a meager 11-15. Since the forecast predicts a high of 43 and a low of 27 in Corvallis on Saturday, this game suddenly demands a bit more focus and certainly a lead story position for this fine program. But you know who else merits a lead story? DeMario Richard. He's not the #1 back in the Sun Devil backfield, but he's also only 17 years old. He joked around a few practices ago, saying he's going to be impossible to interview by his senior season because of his skyrocketing stardom. But thankfully, Adriana Torres was able to catch up with him before he became unreachable.
He's the little brother of the team.
Mario Richards, man.
Just 17 years old. Yet, you wouldn't know that seeing him on the field, running, weaving, finding holes, making catches. In the last 3 games, DeMario Richard has rushed 36 times for 220 yards.
With him out in the backfield, he's just a little pinball. He just keeps trusting his hole, and he runs super hard.
He's played in every game but USC and continues to get more touches as he progresses through the season.
My role has always been the same: be the 6th man, and then once I step on the field, I guess I have a little spark for the offense.
And having a spark next to ASU's star veteran rusher DJ Foster says a lot.
He's the yin to my yang. I'm proud of that kid. I mean, I've seen that kid grow so much since he got here, and I'm so proud of him. It's unbelievable to see his growth and just what he's doing every week for this team. And he's gonna keep bringing it. I'm just proud of him.
Well, I was basically just waiting on myself, and just waiting for my number to be called on. And I got more mentally mature. So, I just come up and start playing big when my team came up and asked for me to come up and play. Just staying focused, getting mentally focused, physically focused, and just staying healthy. Nothing really major for the team.
For Cronkite Sports, I'm Adriana Torres.
Well, the football team is charging toward a shot at the playoffs. One Arizona State team is already there. ASU women's soccer team begins their postseason tomorrow night in Tempe against Northern Arizona. To break down the Devils' tournament hopes and keys to success are our soccer experts, Mauricio Casillas and Andrew Chapman. They're on location at Sun Devil Soccer Stadium, boys.
We're here at Sun Devil Soccer Stadium, where we're just about 1 day away from ASU soccer hosting its biggest game of the season, as the Northern Arizona University Lumberjacks come into town for the first round of the NCAA tournament. Now, ASU was one of 9 Pac-12 teams to make this tournament, whereas NAU had to win its conference to get in, and that's what they did. They won the Big Sky Conference tournament. Now, Andrew, what can you tell me about the Lumberjacks?
Well, Mal, they weren't a team that was going to get an at-large bid with a 12-5-4 record, but they were able to get the job done in the postseason and ultimately make it here for Saturday's game. But just like the Sun Devils, they've had a couple key games that have really defined their season. It all started in the beginning of the year, a 1-0 loss to Arizona. Of course, the Sun Devils just beat them right here last week. Follow that with a 1-0 win against Sacramento State, a very good program up in Northern California. Then a 3-0 shutout against North Dakota. That was their biggest shutout of the year. And then, of course, their semifinal game that they just recently played against Portland State. They win that one. They make it to the championship. They win that as well, and now they find themselves here.
Now, Andrew, everybody knows Arizona State's got those top players. First team All Pac-12 forward, Callie Farquharson. First team All Pac-12 defender, Mackenzie Berryhill. You got Allie Moon, honorable mention. Then Chandler Morris, who's having her best season as a Sun Devil. But on the other side, for NAU, what are some players that the Sun Devils were going to have to look out for?
Well, just like the Sun Devils, NAU has depth on all different parts of the pitch. Up at the striker position is Haley Wingender, 11 goals, 5 assists, 27 points, by far the most offensive threat ASU is going to see. If they lock her down, NAU doesn't have a lot of options on offense. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Sarah Tarver, she made first team All-Conference in the Big Sky. And then, of course, we have to look to goal. Natalie Gilbertson, she has very similar stats to Chandler Morris this year. Allows 88% save percentage, allowing under 1 goal a game. So very similar numbers, granted not the same kind of competition, but she puts up good numbers, good goalkeeper, NAU, deep at all different parts of the pitch.
Now, Andrew, these two teams are teams that have some sort of familiarity with one another. The fact that they play basically every spring and they played this year in the preseason, do you think that familiarity is something that's going to help the Sun Devils or hurt them?
Well, in no way I don't think it's going to hurt them. In the past 3 seasons, ASU really has had the dominating hand in this matchup with NAU, starting with not even a preseason game, a scrimmage this year that was out at the West Campus here at ASU, and then 2 previous seasons before that, preseason games against NAU, which they also won. And, when teams see each other for consecutive seasons, something they usually do is just defend better. That's just usually how it goes in the game of soccer. So it's really going to come down to who can get more offensive chances. And I'm confident that ASU has a lot more depth in the midfield with Allie Moon hitting it up to Callie Farquharson up top, and also bench depth. Bench depth is a huge thing. ASU's been able to replenish and continue their same strategy throughout the game. It's going to be a matter of who can get more opportunities and who can get it going quicker. I think the Sun Devils do a better job of that.
Again, you can catch all the action here at Sun Devil Soccer Stadium. Game starts at 7 p.m. on Saturday. If you can't make it out, you can always catch it on the Pac-12 digital stream. Back to you guys at the studio.
Thanks, guys. Well, as ASU women's soccer team enters the tournament, another season is about to get underway with some non-conference hoops action. The ASU men's basketball team may have lost the 3-headed monster of Jahi Carson, Jordan Baczynski, and Jermaine Marshall, but Cronkite Sports Live presents to you its own 3-headed monster, Cuyler Meade, Zach Pockleb, and Jake Gaden. They'll get you well-versed for the upcoming basketball season. Take it away, guys.
Thanks very much, Jake. Now, as he said, Arizona State basketball, men's basketball, opening up their season tonight, 8 p.m., Wells Fargo Arena. Chicago State, the opponent. Now, let's look big picture, though, guys. At the end of the season, who do you guys project to be the leading scorer for this team? A lot of new guys coming in.
I have Savant Goodman. He's a new guy that's coming in. Yes, he's not going to be playing to that December 16th game against Marquette, but when he comes in, he's going to be that main guy for the Sun Devils. He's physical. He's dominant on the low post. In that maroon and gold game, he had 18 points, which was very impressive. Look for him to be that go-to guy for the Sun Devils when Pac-12 play begins.
Well, in my mindset, I think Roosevelt Scott's going to be a leading scorer. I don't think this is going to be a team with a guy who's scoring exponentially more points than anybody else. The next guy down may be just 2 points less. Roosevelt Scott just gets to the rim with ease. He draws fouls, and he has long arms on defense. He can create some havoc on that end of the floor, force some turnovers, and create some easy baskets for himself. So I think Roosevelt Scott is going to be ASU's leading scorer.
All right, so that's the flash. Let's talk about the stash. Who's coming off the bench? Who matters the most as that 6th man? You got a couple of new guys as the leading scorer. Who do you guys think is going to be the bench man?
Jonathan Gellinger, the Danish dagger. He took more of a backseat role last year in the NCAA tourney run. Came off the bench. Look for him to do much of the same last year, but he did a good job last year doing it. He averaged 9 to 10 points off the bench, and he'll do that again this year, which will be very good for the Sun Devils, something that they'll definitely need.
I love the Danish Dagger, one of my favorite nicknames on the team, but I think that guy off the bench that's going to be important for ASU is going to be Jerry Blakes, the transfer lefty, really big in-between guard, 6'4", broad shoulders. He's really good at taking contact at the rim, but he's also very advanced in his pull-up game. He can pull up from 3 and sink those shots. It might drive Coach Herb Sendek crazy, but I think he's going to be that guy that can heat up very quickly for ASU and come off the bench and burst and provide a spark for ASU's offense.
Absolutely.
All right, now let's talk about a lot of new guys we've been talking about all preseason, getting excited for, what's this team going to look like. Let's talk about this. If he's good, the team is better. Who's the guy for you?
Shaquille McKissic's got to be that guy. He's the only really returning starter from last year's squad coming back this year. During that non-conference schedule, he's really going to have to lead the team and put it on the team on his back when Goodman's not there. When Goodman comes back and Pac-12 play begins, he's going to have to be that tenacious guy on defense. He's going to have to hopefully have that improved shot work for him in Pac-12 play. If he does do that, the team will be good. If he doesn't do that, they'll be less than 500.
Well, McKissic's going to be important on the defensive end, but I think Jonathan Gilling has to be the guy that consistently produces. He's one of the senior leaders on this team, and he's ASU's only true marksman. He's their only pure shooter. And in conference play, when the teams start to scout ASU for those driving lanes and for those kickouts, they're going to pack the lane, conservative man defense, and Gilling has to be the guy to stretch the floor for the Sun Devils. He can't have those 4 for 5 one nights, 0 for 9 the next nights. He has to have an even keel performance throughout the season.
All right, so let's talk about the team as a whole that end of the season. Where do you see them finishing in the Pac-12? And then where's that last game that they play? How do they finish the season? How far do they get in the postseason?
The Sun Devils are only going to make it 6 this year. That's the way I look at it. They're going to make a tournament, or a Pac-12 tournament, or maybe win the first game. But the only way they're making it into the big dance in March Madness is if they win the Pac-12 tournament. That's the only way they're going to make it. They'll make an NIT appearance for a little bit, but maybe it's a home game possibly at Wells Fargo Arena, but that'll be it for the Sun Devils.
And we both agree that they're going to do better than the media had predicted them. They finished 9th according to that preseason poll. But I agree, they'll make it to the NIT, but I think they'll peak at the right time. It'll all come together, and they'll make a deep run into the tournament. Maybe the 3rd round, they'll get home court advantage on that 1st round game as well. I don't see them returning to the NCAA tournament and advancing, but I see them getting to the NIT and advancing in that sense.
All right, it all starts tonight. Thanks very much, Jake Gaden, Zach Pokleb. You can see their work on CronkiteSports.com. You can see the game, Chicago State, 8 p.m., Wells Fargo Arena or Pac-12 Digital. These guys are going to be there. You can get the recaps on CronkiteSports.com. Back to you, Jake.
Thanks, guys. ASU basketball in action tonight. ASU hockey was in action last night against Minot State at Oceanside Arena. Let's get to the highlights. We'll pick up the action in the first period. ASU with a 1-0 lead already. Chris Burkemper is going to feed Kyle Bowen in front of the net. Only 2nd goal of the season, but ASU leads 2-0. Now 2-1, Brad Olenek putting on a clinic to Brett McNevin. Nifty move, backhand laser. Game's going to be tied at 2 apiece in that first quarter. We'll move on to the second period. Mitch Peak is going to swing it outside to Eric Ball for pump fake one time, but the shot's going to hit off Ed McGovern's stick. Nothing you can really do about that one, but an own goal nevertheless. We'll see it again. Minot State sitting pretty with a 3-2 lead. Still second period. We're going to go hyperspeed here to show you just how quickly ASU responded. This is what good teams do. Just 22 seconds later, as we'll see right here, Connor Schmidt. Yeah, he does some major wrist curls. His shot is going to go past Minot State goalkeeper Riley Hengen. 6th goal of the season for Schmidt. We have ourselves a ball game tied at 3. Later in the second period, again tied at 3. Good puck movement to find an open Drewmeyer. Boom, Hengen with a glove save. Take another look. Hengen with those killer reflexes plucks the puck right out of midair. Game stays knotted at 3. Crunch time, baby. 2-minute drill. ASU on a penalty kill. Deflection to Sean Murphy. He's going to be in the right place in the right time. Tempers are flaring, but ASU clear hearts with a 4-3 lead. Time's going to dwindle down now. Minot State getting desperate with an empty net. 3-on-1 opportunity for ASU. Executed to perfection. That's Bellinger. All alone in center ice. ASU avoids back-to-back losses with a 5-3 win over Minot State.
Big one.
Exactly. Cuyler, we've covered a lot of sports so far, but it's not a show until Jason Chesler joins us with Tweets of the Week. He didn't lead off, but Jason, the stage is now yours.
Still disappointed to not be in that leadoff spot, much like some fans were disappointed when, well, ASU versus Notre Dame didn't draw that other live college sports show on that other 4-letter network. Now, since we filled in for that show so well last week on location, I decided I'd keep filling in for the aforementioned 4-letter network. This week on Tweets of the Week, we're ignoring most of the ASU sporting spectrum and only focusing on football. I'm sorry, 4 letters, 4 tweets. They said it, we picked it. ASU Athletes Tweets of the Week. Starting things off, Mike Bercovici. Okay, so I'm always a Berco defender on this show. However, I'm a little concerned about his junk food habits. They knock off Notre Dame. He thinks about Lucky Charms. Later in the week, what if Taco Bell delivered? Guys, what kind of a diet is Mike Bercovici on?
Listen, he's in excellent shape, so whatever it is, he's figured out a way to, trim it off, something I obviously haven't figured out myself. Taco Bell delivering, though, I don't know. What are you really needing that badly that you can't go all the way to Taco Bell?
I mean, it takes like 1 minute to make your food, but what I really like about Mike Bercovici is the fact that he's trying to stay in the limelight. He's now buried on that bench as a backup quarterback, but he's still enthusiastic about his Sun Devil team. Also, he hashtag beat Oregon State after saying that they beat the Irish. That's Todd Graham's got to love that. Forward thinking, not getting caught up in the moment, Mike Bercovici.
On to the next one.
Forward thinking, but too far ahead with Taco Bell delivery. The world's not ready for that. Another Bercovici Twitter fun fact, he follows 666 people. Spooky.
Wow.
Now, you may think that Taylor Kelly was the MVP of the Notre Dame game. You may give it a team effort. No, the real MVP, Demarius Randall's parents. They came into town, cleaned his room. That's what leads to success on the football field. I've been saying it all season long. Parenting is where everything starts out. Cuyler, you know a thing or two about that.
I do, and I've, from time to time, cleaned a child's room. We're trying to get our kids to learn a little bit about picking up after themselves, trying to get them to put the strawberry shortcake memory game back in the box before you move on to the xylophone. But it's a tough process. It's mostly the wife doing a lot of the cleaning. I'm just trying to help out, every now and then.
I think it's funny. Normally you'd expect the 17-year-old Demario Richard to have his parents come and clean his room, but Demarius Randall's a senior. He can't do that on his own. I'm just saying my room is extremely clean. I don't see why Demarius Randall can't keep his as well.
It's true. I mean, listen, parents are going to be there, and boys are going to be dirty, unless they're, of course, Jay Garcia. And what can you say? Look at this. You can tell he's a neat freak, not me.
I do have some insight for you guys, though. I do believe Demarius Randall did put away his own xylophone. And if there's one thing I like to cover more than ASU football, it's DeAndre Lewis's desire to play the new Call of Duty game. Will someone please play with him, guys? He's been asking for weeks at this point. And that's his reaction to the Notre Dame win, by the way. He was glad to check that off his checklist so he could move back to his real passion, COD.
The problem is no one's going to play with him because all his teammates are busy getting in the game. DeAndre Lewis hasn't seen the field in a few games. He's now buried on that running back depth chart, so it looks like all he has left to do is play COD with himself.
It's true. We expected him to be this huge part, offense, defense. It's like that all-time quarterback, just not actually the quarterback. But yeah, there's always Call of Duty. There's always the Xbox, and hopefully it'd be interesting to play him. I don't have any of these newfangled systems. I brought back my old original Xbox from my folks' place after Christmas the other day, and dusted it off. Found a couple of the old games, Halo 1, Halo 2. They were classics. Call of Duty, on the other hand, my understanding is a better game.
I'm sure DeAndre Lewis would be more than willing to play a few of those games with you, Cuyler.
Hey, the offer is out there. Come on over to my apartment.
That's
Halo
right,
1, 2-player.
DeAndre Lewis, you are welcome to join us all for a big roundtable game of Tecmo Super Bowl. Trying not to date you there, Cuyler.
Thanks, Jason. We'll see you later in the show for Tweets of the Week. But for debate. But with the start of each new season comes a slew of fresh new faces. The ASU football team lost 9 starters on defense coming into the season, making this year's opening day lineup hardly recognizable by even the most ardent Sun Devil fans. But the Arizona State women's basketball team is the exception to that expectation. Sure, they lost Steele's machine Deja Mann and only logged 1 senior on the 13-woman roster. But still, they're blessed with returning all the other pieces that catapulted them to a 20-win season and a trip to the NCAA tournament last year. Katie Hempen, Kelsey Moose, Sophie Bruner, and many more all return after earning substantial playing time last year. Of course, no one's complaining because they're all extremely talented and now a year better. But there has to be a way to compensate for this lack of mystery and lack of unexpectedness that comes with a reconstructed roster. Right on cue, Cuyler Meade is joined by first-time CSL participant and basketball expert Elaine Wilson to get the blood flowing for tonight's season opener.
Thanks, Jake. As you said, joined now by Elaine Wilson, our women's basketball insider. Now, Elaine, Arizona State women, as well as the men, starting things off. Big season. They went into the tournament last year. Middle Tennessee, the opponent, 6 o'clock, Wells Fargo. It's going to be on Pac12.com with Cronkite Sports Talent, by the way. Now, Elaine, what are you expecting out of this Middle Tennessee team?
Well, their record from last year is a little daunting. It was 29-4. On the surface, you know, that can be a little intimidating, especially since Middle Tennessee was the CUSA champion last year. In reality, this conference isn't very strong. Back in the day, they had major basketball teams such as Louisville, Marquette. They went on to bigger conferences. Now, Middle Tennessee dominates that conference. Half of CUSA women's basketball teams had losing records last year, while only 1/4 of the Pac-12 had losing records. So ultimately, even though Middle Tennessee had a better record last year, ASU is the tougher team.
Both of these teams losing important players, yes. Deja Mann, Joy Burke, Drake mentioned, but also on Middle Tennessee, Ebony Rose, Kiki Stewart, major players for that team. Who do you expect to step up for each team?
Right, well, for Middle Tennessee, it's all about Olivia Jones. You can see that she has great defensive and offensive stats, but Coach Insel's biggest concern is that Jones gets a little overzealous, aggressive on the perimeter. She creates fouls that ultimately hurt the team. For ASU, it's all about Katie Hempen and Kelsey Moose. Hempen was second in points per game last season. Moose led the team in rebounds. Truly, there's no one dominating player on this squad just because Coach Charlie Turner-Thorne has the mass substitutions that she does with the team, and it's created a lot of depth for everyone. So I expect to see also a lot from the Amukamara sisters. In the maroon and gold game, they really mirrored each other. They had that sister chemistry on the court. So I see these girls leading this team.
Both of these teams ranked at one point last season in the top 25. Both of them went on national tournament runs. Yeah. Neither of them ranked preseason.
Right.
What are the keys for each of these teams to come away with a season opening win?
Well, both coaches said that they wanted to work on the same things in the preseason press conferences that they both had. Middle Tennessee, Rick Insell stated his biggest concern was rebounds. He could go to sleep at night knowing Ebony Rose is going to get 10 to 18 rebounds a game. Now that Rose graduated, you know, the rest of the team has to step up in that rebound area. Coach Charlie Turner-Thorne told WCSN reporters the same thing. She wants better stats for this entire team, more consistent with rebounds. I think Middle Tennessee's biggest issue is that they need to have better coverage in the key. Again, this offense is so diverse. Everybody has leveled out stats, so everybody's going to get an opportunity to score in this game. They have to have great coverage where it's needed. For ASU to win, they have to hold on to the ball. Middle Tennessee had about 8 steals a game last season. You know, turning that ball over where they're inconsistent on offense, they're just giving themselves more opportunities to be on offense. So if ASU can hold on to the ball, I expect them coming away with a win tonight.
All right, thanks very much, Elaine Wilson. You can see her work, CronkiteSports.com. You can see the game, Wells Fargo Reno or Pac-12 Digital with Cronkite Sports Talent. Thanks very much, Elaine.
Thank you.
Back to Jake.
Thanks, Cuyler. I'm joined at the desk by multi-sport aficionado Dominic Catronio. Dominic, we've seen you covering hockey. Baseball is a forte of yours, but I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of your golf coverage kind of doesn't get the credit it deserves just because not a lot of people are familiar with this golf team.
Well, thank you.
I think that's about to change, though, because Phil Mickelson is now the interim assistant head coach for this Arizona State Sun Devil team. Huge signing for them. What does this mean for the program?
Well, emphasis on the interim, of course, because he's still got a PGA Tour season to play. Look, it's Phil Mickelson. Every golfer in the world knows who he is. This is a huge recruiting tool, and he's already used that to his advantage as well. He's called an Australian recruit, 16-year-old Ryan Ruffles. He thought it was a prank at first when Phil Mickelson is calling his cell phone. He goes on to an hour-long talk with this kid, telling him to come to Arizona State about his golf game and everything like that. Phil has been there. He knows what it's like to come from away. He's from California, coming to Arizona. Not quite Australia, but it's a big pull to bring in people to Arizona State, which was one of the best college golf programs in the early 90s, mid-90s. It's fallen off a little bit, but it's already on the comeback.
Again, emphasis on the fact that it's an interim assistant coaching position. This isn't a long-term move by any means. So, Dom, with that in mind, why was Phil the one who was signed for this position, and why now?
Well, his older brother, Tim, has been looking around for what kind of job that he could find since Joe Prince left the program in September. He was the assistant coach, but now there's been a hole for a while, and you say, hey, why not? It's his brother, Phil. Everybody knows him. But again, this is a thing where not only with recruiting, he can help with these players actually with their mental game and what it takes to get to the professional game. Because right now, John Rahm, he's playing in the Mayakoba Golf Classic, which is a PGA Tour event, and Rahm is a guy that we've talked about on this show before. So it's something, he's inside the cut line too, worthy to mention there as well. But this is something that he can bring in a little more insight to these guys who want to play beyond college golf. Phil Mickelson brings that. A Sun Devil himself also has a little more lenient ways with the recruiting and NCAA regulations because he is an alum.
Phil Mickelson, 42 career PGA titles, 5 career major championships, and then 3 NCAA championships. So really a no-lose situation for the Sun Devils. Dom, always a pleasure. Cuyler, back to you.
Thanks, Jake. Now we're going to move on to Arizona State volleyball. Big game against Oregon State last night. So let's look at the footage. Oregon State swept ASU the last time they played, so ASU now ranked 19th, looking for revenge against the unranked Beavers. Check this out. It's number 15, Mary Kate Marshall, you're going to want to keep an eye on. She's basically a lock to win the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. We're going to see her later in the game. Let's go to the end of the first set, McKizzy Woolley there with the dig, and a defensive error is going to give ASU first set on the free ball there. Now, second set, OSU 24-22. Check out Erica Nassar with the soft little touch right there. OSU going to tie it up 1-1. All right, now let's go to the fourth set, all right? Arizona State having to keep it alive after OSU won the other one. Check this out. Hallie Harker with the dig. Macy Gardner up high, down low. ASU evens it up 2-2, forces a fifth set. All right, now the fifth set's going to be here tied at 11. Now Mary Kate Marshall, we told you her name. She's up at the top there. Boom! And sniper shot on Shannon McCready, taken out. Let's look at this one again. Oh my goodness. Couldn't get out of the way, couldn't get in the way. Shannon McCready goes down, OSU goes up, 12-11. Taylor Woods pumping up the team, getting ready for match point. Here it is, match point. Let's hear how Traylon Thier calls it.
Their way. Here's a play from Bailey. This one goes out. Oregon State pulls off the upset.
Oregon State goes on to win. They'll sweep the season series with ASU. Big upset over the number 19 Sun Devils. And ASU now trying to look for a little redemption against Oregon tomorrow night. Now we bring in Jason Chesler back from the tweet segment, and now for something a little bit more contentious, so to speak. Jason's here to moderate the debate segment. Jason?
That's right, something contentious, something personal. I'm up close and personal with the two of you. It's an honor to join you behind the anchor desk. Some say I'm here to keep things under control. I'll be honest, I'm here to instigate. I've noticed some tension between the two of you. Now it's time for it to boil over. Debate segment. Starting things off, we're going to start with, of course, ASU football. They've got a beautiful flowing river towards the college football playoffs right now. The Oregon State Beavers are looking to dam that river, destroying its flow and impacting the media coverage ecosystem we've built at its core. With that being said, guys, is that a threat to happen?
Let me start things off. The Beavers are not a bad team. There's no really bad teams in the Pac-12 this season. But that said, while anybody can threaten any other team in the conference, Arizona State is a far superior team. Yes, it's a road game. Yes, it's cold temperatures. Arizona State's just beaten a lot of better teams. It would be a huge upset, a huge letdown for Arizona State to lose. Anybody can hurt anybody. I'm saying Arizona State's got a great chance to come away with the win.
I agree with that, Cuyler, but at the same time, any test this late in the season has got to be considered a threat to the Sun Devils' playoff hopes. Yes, they're a better team in every single facet, but ASU has shown an historical inclination to not playing well in these colder weather games. They always play better at home. You just can't underestimate this Oregon State Beaver team. Yes, they've lost a lot of pieces on offense. Brandon Cooks now in the NFL. But something about Oregon State in November at home says this game has the potential to be disastrous for ASU.
That's true. You know, Jake, I got to give you the point here, because if we know two things about Arizona State, it's that students here don't like the cold, and athletics teams, they choke out here in the Tempe heat. I'm giving you the point that time, Jake. Question number 2, we're going to get away from extended river metaphors and away from football at the same time. Basketball. Men's basketball, maybe the flashier program the last 2 years with Jahi Carson. He's gone, and women's basketball, certainly the better program the last few years under Coach Charlie Turner-Thorne. Guys, who's making the bigger splash this season? Jake?
I say it's women's basketball, and here's why. They have this little thing called Team Chem. They return every single one of their players, not every single one, but most of them from that 20-win season a year ago. The men lose Baczynski, Carson, Jermaine Marshall. Women bring back practically everyone, and their second-best players coming off the bench, Pisa Mukamara. She has that innate Team Chem with her sister, who's a star on this Sun Devil roster.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm actually going to say men's basketball, and here's why. The Pac-12 in men's basketball is very weak, much like 2-3 years ago. There's no dominant team. Arizona State, I think, has every chance to turn out to be surprisingly good. They've got lots of talented players. We just haven't seen them play together yet. Might be a little bit rocky, but they've got an easy non-conference schedule to climb over those rocks. Once they get into conference play, I think they've got a great chance to surprise a lot of people once Savon Goodman's back, once they've gotten a little bit of that Team Chem. And again, Pac-12 tournament, who's going to stop who? It's just not a really strong conference right now, so I'm going to go men's.
Chemistry, guys, chemistry. I'm not sure when chem became the only acceptable way to say that word. Jake, you started that. I'm giving the point to Cuyler. Building up maybe some false hope from this men's basketball team, but hey, we'll wait and see. Now, I know some of you don't have the longest attention spans viewing. You're here for the football. We're jumping back into it. Question number 3, we got into the river metaphor. I commented on the splash the men's and women's basketball teams will make. We stayed with water. Now, how far will the ASU football river carry them towards the college football playoffs?
I'm going to say it's carrying them to San Francisco and no farther, as much as I would love to see. And I do think this is a team that is coached well enough, that has the right personnel to do it, to go in a long run, maybe even to the CFP. I do think Oregon is just all those things and a little bit more. I think it's going to be tough for Arizona State playing in San Francisco. I think there's likely to be a decent number of traveling fans. That's only about 7-8 hour road trip from Eugene. So I think there's a really good chance Oregon comes into the Pac-12 championship and just knocks them off. They're such a powerful team. Arizona State I like, but in a lot of ways I feel is flawed. So I do think that's as far as they go.
If you would have asked me at the start of the season, do I think Arizona State is unranked right now, ranked number 6 in the country? I say they're unranked and with full confidence. They've surprised me before, and they're going to surprise me again. I say they win these next 3 games and then go to Santa Clara and beat Oregon in that Pac-12 championship game. After that, who knows? But I do know a funny situation that would happen. If they get the number 4 seed in the college football playoff, they may be facing the number 1 seed, which means they go to the Sugar Bowl, not the Rose Bowl after winning the Pac-12 championship. They do still make the college football playoff, but I have a feeling Coach Todd Graham would be extremely disappointed about not getting to play in that Rose Bowl.
I think keeping the dream of a national championship alive, Jake, that might outweigh some of that disappointment. Cronkite Sports Live Debate, we're often tied after 2 questions. I'm taking it up a notch. We're tied after 3. Point for each of you.
Wow.
2-2. Is it a tie? No, this isn't soccer. Tie-breaking question. Cuyler, you're going first on this one. Start preparing your mental juices. Jahi Carson left the ASU men's basketball team. That was the source for every one of my dozen nicknames for ASU men's basketball. Give me a new nickname for this year's squad.
How about after Jahizus left behind? That's my one.
Wow.
There you go.
That is absolutely terrible. I'm going to go with Exquisite McKissick. Why? Because he is the only Sun Devil on this roster we know anything about. He's flashy, he's flamboyant, he's going to lead this Sun Devil team this year. I think I win that.
How about Shop at Save-Ons? How's that one?
You guys have put me in an impossible position with 2 of the worst nicknames in the history of sports. Cuyler threw in the 3rd one. I'm sorry, I can't give you credit, but I will hold it against you.
Oh, no.
Jake Garcia, you have won this debate, but really, it's by default. I'm sorry, America.
All right, Jason. As much as I'd rather just kick you out of here, thank you for your presence.
Now, I have no idea how to leave.
That's all right. We have top plays. We're going to put it on the screen. You're going to disappear.
Wow.
Roll them. Top plays, best part of our show, Arizona State volleyball. Check this out, Mercedes-Benz, watch her right in the middle, up block on the top pin. Now look her all the way over to the bottom pin right here for the other block. Arizona State wins the point. Mercedes-Benz, pin to pin.
Play number 2, M&G basketball game. Savon Goodman going to go backdoor for the sweet little lay-in, but he's not finished. The transfer from UNLV, who wants to be a sports broadcaster coincidentally, is going to pick the pocket of his teammate and take it back for the one-handed flush. Boom, hammer. Gold team wins, gold team rules.
ASU hockey, check this out. Late in the second against Minot State the other night. Right, it's going to be Drew Newmeyer, and Ryan Hengen stones him. Check this out on the replay one again. From the slot, Newmeyer's got a great shot, great open net right behind him, but Hengen to his left glove save, standing on his head, as they say. That's the number 1 play, and that's the end of this show.
Well, Cuyler, it's closing time for the week, but just because we're about to exit the scene doesn't mean Sun Devil Athletics will. Remember, ASU women's basketball tips off tonight at 5. Kerry Crowley dabbling his talents in some play-by-play for the Pac-12 digital stream. Men's basketball follows at 8. Basketball isn't your thing. Check out ASU hockey on CronkiteSports.com tonight at 7:30.
Don Catronio, Jason Chesler.
That's right. Then on Saturday, you've got Mauricio Casillas bringing you the action from the soccer team's first-round playoff game at 7. And then end your Saturday with a premier 8:45 showing of ASU football squaring off against Oregon State in Corvallis. He's Cuyler. I'm Jake. This has been Cronkite Sports Live.